we were gentlemen cadet. So we were told we were to pass out on 14th of December. We said, look boys, you've trained enough. There is a war on and we need cannon fodder. You know what is cannon fodder? Cannon fodder is what you have to feed to the cannons to keep them going. Alright? And for that you need blood. You need a fair amount of human lives. We said we need young men to lead the attack. 14th of November we were commissioned. As was just mentioned to you in my biodata that was flashed, my elder brother was a captain in the army, in the J&K Rifles, 11th Battalion, the J&K Rifles. He had been killed in the 65 war by a land mine. That means his body had gone into about 1,500 pieces. He was 23 years of age. 66, without telling my mom and dad, I had applied for the NDA. 67, I was in the NDA. Right? Despite all the crying, all the wailing, etc., etc., etc. But that's the way it is. I had no other choice and I had no option. And if you ask me what motivated me, you will laugh. Commando comics. 50 paise ka Commando comics aata tha. You know, and we used to read those tales of glory of World War I, World War II. So anyway, we were passed out. 1 month before the war was to start, we were given 10 days leave. We went and saw mom and dad, and then we got into the train. We got off at Siliguri, right? And it was then actually end November. And at the Siliguri railway station, all our boys were there with steel helmets, with bayonets fixed, gleaming bayonets, naked bayonets. Generally you sheath your bayonet, you see. But when a war is on, you take off your bayonets. Right? So that you might use it any time to good effect. And they had brought us 10 machine carbines. And they were waiting with our steel helmets. The moment we got off, Saab, jaldi karo, jaldi karo. तो बोले ये सामान वगैरह सामान आ जाएगा साहब पलटन बांग्लादेश में है. By the way, a lot of Indian battalions were inside Bangladesh well before the main action had started. I can share that with you. And the first night of our service, we were inside Bangladesh. We did not know our men. Our men had never seen us. We were very keen to do very well and show everybody what we were made of. We went charging. A lot of time you suddenly found you were all alone. Right? And we took the maximum casualties. That is why this is called the Born to Battle batch. We took maximum casualties. On the very first night of our service, so many of us were killed. There are so many of my comrades who today have plastic hands, plastic legs. But they don't ask for help. You try and help that boy, he'll push you off. He will still push you off because he has that pride. We may have suffered and paid a very heavy price. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you with a great sense of pride that it was our generation which broke Pakistan into two. Alright? We broke Pakistan in two. 16 glorious days. There were 3 corps advancing from 3 sides. 2nd Corps led by General Raina from the Calcutta side. 4 Corps led by one of our legendary commanders, Lieutenant General Sagat Singh, 6 foot 2 inch tall Rajput from the Tripura side. And from the north side, General Gandharv Nagra. You see, and there was a 33 Corps from the Siliguri side. From 3 sides and the 4th side, we were closing in onto Dhaka. The Pakistani army. You see, no army can withstand the strength of an idea whose time has come. The Pakistani army was led then by one of their so-called finest generals, Lieutenant General Amir Akbar Abdullah Khan Niazi, Hilal-e-Jurrat, Sitara-e-Pakistan. That's quite a mouthful. Okay. So this man, he was under the impression, look, अरे ये हमारा एक पाकिस्तानी 10 हिंदुस्तानी के बराबर, ये क्या करेंगे, ये बढ़िए क्या करेंगे, you know, that is the term pejorative term that they use. And he said they will maximum try and grab a few kilometers of land, enclaves here, there, to try and push back the refugees. But they had not catered for another master general called General J.F.R. Jacob. You may have heard of this Jewish general. Shot, one of the most brilliant minds in South Asia. He was an expert on the Kushan period of history, and in his spare time, he was a bachelor. You could have seen this general in the Kolkata Museum, talking on the Kushan engravings and this and that. Brilliant man, brilliant man. He had planned to go for Dhaka. The Military Operations Directorate in Delhi, where Sam was the boss, another very fiery chap who could tell the Prime Minister off. They had planned that the most critical portion of Bangladesh are the two ports of Khulna and Chittagong, because all supplies come from the west. So these are the criticalities. When you attack, when you fight a battle, you first define the center of gravity, which is the keystone. If that is pulled out, the whole structure will collapse. So which was the keystone in Bangladesh? The army headquarters felt it was Chittagong, and it was the port of Khulna. General Jacob had been born in Dhaka. He had cycled to college on the streets of Dhaka. Look at, destiny has a way of putting the right man at the right place. It is called, in Jungian psychology, synchronicity. How things synchronize, alright? Okay. So, he said, look, the keystone there is Dhaka. Bypass everything. Go like a torrent of water. Have you seen a torrent of water flowing? Have you seen when a dam bursts, what happens? If it hits a rock, it will not stop. It just goes around. And 10-15 years that rock won't exist. But it just keeps moving. So he said he started the torrent concept of attack. Actually, it's a German concept. It's called Blitzkrieg. Blitz means lightning. Krieg is warfare. Have you seen lightning? It doesn't go straight. It zigzags, and that's the way our armies went. And we were second lieutenants. We were at the cutting edge. We used to have in our pouches our puri and alu in the left side. And on the right side, we used to, of course, with the ammunition, have a small little transistor. And on that transistor, we used to keep listening to Sam. And as our army started, we just bypassed all the resistance. Niazi gave orders that you will fight and die on the border. Till you take 80% casualties, you will not withdraw. We said, okay, hang. And we just went deep right into Bangladesh. This is called superior strategy. Superior strategy. You attack the mind of the enemy commander. Paralysis. You induce paralysis. Ladies and gentlemen, on the 14th of December 1971, we got a radio intercept that a meeting of the Pakistani High Command is taking place at Dhaka in the Circuit House. Alright? It's taking place in the Circuit House, and the Governor Adam Malik is going to be there. General Niazi and his top brass are going to be there. 4 MiG-21 aircraft of the Indian Air Force, laden with about 30 rockets each. The rocket is huge, big rockets, took off from Kolkata, near Kolkata. They went over Dhaka. They swooped low just when the meeting was in progress. And through the windows of that circuit house, there was that chandelier hall. Massive chandeliers, mahogany, brown table, everybody around, glasses clinking. And through the windows, they fired the rockets. Slammed 30 rockets, 4 into 30 you can just calculate. And these rockets smashed into that hall where that conference was taking place. The chandeliers, the chandelier like this, crashed onto that table, that black mahogany table. All the participants who were there ducked below the table, including Lieutenant General Amir Akbar Abdullah Khan Niazi, Hilal-e Jurrat, Sitara-e Pakistan, to be very absolutely correct, politically correct. He was under the table, and from below the table, Adam Malik, the governor, He put his hand out on a slip of paper and said, I resign. I have had enough. I resign. Alright. And the next one, the eyewitness account of this is given by Colonel Sadiq Salik. Colonel Sadiq Salik was the PRO with General Niazi. He said Niazi broke into tears. He sobbed like a child. Pindi mein baithe haramzadon ne mara diya. This was the state of mind of this man. 15th of December, General JFR Jacob takes a helicopter and his swagger stick. He doesn't even carry a pistol. He just lands up in Dhaka. They have sent them a signal, General Jacob is coming, send a vehicle for him. He takes that vehicle, drives straight to Niazi's headquarters, and he has got with him the surrender document. He said, General, this is the surrender document, sign it. I'm giving you half an hour to read it and you will sign it. He is inside Dhaka where there are 40,000 Pakistani soldiers. Our 3 columns are closing in on Dhaka. One has got about 2,000 people on the outskirts of Dhaka. One has got about another 4,000 people this side of the river. And here is General Jacob without a single weapon on him. He marches into Niazi's headquarters, flings down this thing on his table. General, sign this surrender document. I'm giving you half an hour to read it. He said, but I wanted the ceasefire. He said, General, you will sign this surrender document. I'm waiting outside. Alright? I'm waiting outside and I give you 30 minutes. If you don't sign this, General, the air attacks will start again. You got a sample of that yesterday? They will start again and they will come for you. Number 1. Number 2, we are going to let the Mukti Bahini loose on you, your officers and your soldiers. And they have started berating your people for what you have done to their women. Right? They are looking for revenge. Your only hope of survival is you surrender to the Indian army, we'll take care of you. He started pacing outside. Half an hour he went in. Niazi had tears streaming down his eyes. He was looking down at those documents. He says, have you signed them? He had it. He just pulled it out. I take it as signed. Tomorrow, 10:00 hours, you will be there for the surrender ceremony. Niazi was. 93,000 prisoners of war surrendered. 93,000 prisoners of war. We have personally seen them being put into goods trains like cattle. Like cattle shoved into good trains and being sent off to the prisoner of war camp. 16 days we had broken a nation state into 2. 16 days we had created a new nation state with a force of arms. And that was the first time after the Second World War that this kind of a thing was done. So I told that general, the next general who came, I said, sir, you can't get my boys treated like punching bags. You want a weak unit here, you can get any unit that you like. You got my unit, let me fight. Let me fight, let me give it back. So he gave me the authority and the blessings. We planned, we prepared, we hit 29 Baluch so hard. They had their battalion headquarters, the CO's hut was burnt. The officers' mess of 29 Baluch was burnt. The entire area where they used to have this was shelled by a regiment of artillery which is 18 guns, a light battery which is 6 120mm mortars, 6 platoons of mortars. That is about, each platoon has 6 mortars, 81mm mortars. They were rained down on that. So I had climbed one of our top posts and all that. We were taking a look that side. And then I asked that chap, he says, sir, wo safed jhanda khada kar raha hai. He's raising a white flag. I have had enough. Please stop. So I asked him, tumko dikh raha hai? See, I'm just giving you what happens in the army. You may not know much about it. I turned to my boy who had just, put his, sir, safed jhanda khada kar raha hai. I said, tumko dikh raha hai? So he looked uncertainly at me, not knowing what answer I was expecting. I said, तुमको दिख रहा है? He said, हाँ sir. तुमको दिख रहा है? No sir. Good. Put your bloody bino down. Blast the daylights out of these. You know, I use pretty colorful language on what the other side was. Blast the daylights out of them. Kick him so hard that he should cry uncle. He cried uncle now to his headquarters. 2 days later, the Director General Military Operations, where I had been serving before that rank, he landed up there. What the hell is going on here? He said, GD, what are you doing here? I said, sir, I am the commanding officer. He said, oh, now I know what's wrong. You know, so I said, sir, all this while when we were getting bashed, you never came here. Today we kicked the butt out of this 29 Baluch, and you know, everybody is flying down here to stop me. Why? He said, okay, don't lose your cool, don't lose your cool. But this is the language some people understand. And to give that language back, if you start obeying too many orders, I'm afraid it's not very far that you will go. You know, I want somebody else to take the risk. I want somebody else to hold the can. So that won't work. Ladies and gentlemen, after that I went to Kishtwar, which incidentally has 60% Muslims, 40% Hindu. And when I went there had been some human rights violation case. Court-martials were going on. Inquiries were going on. When I reached the officer mess and I sat down, I saw the, khiche hue chehre, sunken cheeks, hollowed eyes, dark rings under the eyes. So I asked that boy, "Tum chutti kab gaya pisle? When did you go on chutti?" In the combat areas, we have an unwritten rule. Every 90 days, get out. Send this boy back to his family, whether he wants to or he doesn't want to. Give him that break. Every 90 days, every 90 days, we want this boy out, either on casual leave or on annual leave. But I would like him to go. This is an unwritten rule, because otherwise people who are used again and again and again crack down, and the best of the men will break up. You have to recharge your juices, right? So I asked this boy, "When did you go on leave last?" He said, "Sir, 13 months ago." So I was shocked. I asked the other chap, "When did you go on leave last?" He said, "Sir, 11 months ago." So I turned to the CO with absolute rage on my face. So why? So this man said, "Sir, excuse me, sir, can I just take you aside?" He said, "Sir, all these men are under court-martial. They were involved in that case where the locals had surrounded our patrol, who had captured some of these terrorists, and it was Eid day, they were trying to get their terrorists freed and to snatch their weapons. This boy opened fire. He killed about 8 civilians. And since then, there has been all hell to pay. Human rights violation. So I asked that boy, I said, "What happened, son?" He said, "Sir, I just want to ask you one question. What was I expected to do? Give up my weapons? Give up the prisoners? I had been told to capture those people. I captured them, I brought them, and then I was surrounded by a mob. And the mob attacked us. So what could I have done? Should I have tamely handed over this thing? We would have been killed. So I took the decision on the spot, sir. I am guilty, but whatever it is, I have taken action. I had to get those people moving. I got that case settled. We got ballistics experts to find out that, there were terrorists mixed up with them. Yeah, thank you. There were terrorists mixed up with them. The point I am trying to make, ladies and gentlemen, is we got that place moving. We killed all. I said, don't waste your time shooting these foot soldiers. We don't want the piadas. We want the top leaders. We selected top leaders. We went for them. We eliminated them. One fine day, I got a message. One of my sources said, "Sir, you better watch it. There is a message for you." He said, "What?" He said, "Bakshi Saab aapko dekh legi." So I thought I would be ambushed or my headquarters would be attacked. So I called my second in command, told him, "Just tell the boys to be a little more alert and alive." That's not what happened. They went to the remotest village, they pulled out the minority people and they shot 5 of them. They left one alive to climb up to that bloody village, which was another 4 hours away, get to a bus, come back, and by the time we got the information, 12, 18 hours. They had all fled. Another week later, they hit the next village. There's a Tagud, then Pati Mahal, they killed 8. And then the third day, another third week, they went and killed at Gulabgarh. And they wiped out 30 little girls, little boys who take the sheep up on top. Slaughtered them in cold blood. Alright? And there was an exodus of the minority community from that area to Himachal Pradesh. Ladies and gentlemen, all that I did was, I took 2 companies, I camped at the place where they had killed 13 women and children, and we just told them, we want the names of the guys who have done it. So after they had a lot of harassment at the hands of the army, very simple, they told us the names. I said, I want you to tell them that Brigadier Bakshi, I was then a brigadier, was here और उसने आपके लिए पैगाम भेजा है, अबू मूसा, अबू गुलाम, अबू उबेर, तुम्हें जहां भागना है तुम भाग लो, फौज तुम्हारे पीछे आएगी, चाहे हमें 1 हफ्ता लगे, चाहे 1 महीना, चाहे 1 साल. आपने कुरान शरीफ की हुक्म मंजूरी करी है. The Quran Sharif says, in a jihad, spare the lives of the women, the children and the old men. It is written, it's an ayat in the Quran. He said, you have violated the Quran, we'll come for you, and when we, jab hum tumhe marenge, kutte ki maut marenge, jala ke marenge. This is the threat that I gave them. Within a week, we got the information where these people were. That Gujar of mine who used to give me all the information, he says, साहब हाथ में खुजली हो रहा है, हाथ में खुजली हो रहा है, I want money, I have got good information. I said, तू खुजली उजली बंद कर, वो किधर है? He says, साहब तूने बहुत अच्छा किया जो धमकी दी, अपनी छाया से डर रहे, किसी गांव में 1 घंटा से ज्यादा नहीं ठहरते, कोई इनकी तरफ देखता है तो उसकी मार पिटाई शुरू करता है. ठीक है? And this is what, now I said, where are they now? They are in this. We surrounded them. We tried to attack. There was an opening in the forest. 3 of my boys got shot, 1 through the head, through the other arms, and we couldn't get close. So we just used a thermobaric Russian weapon, which burns. Where it explodes, 1000 degrees centigrade fireball. Your cooking is done at 130, 140. Right? And they were in a pine log. The whole thing burned. All that we did was, when it had burned down to ash, we found where the spine was. That was all that was left. Chura, the leg bones, which are very thick, they were reduced to chura. And there 3 AK-47s. All the woodwork was burned and the barrels were burnt into a U. We took photographs. We went back to the same village, Gulabgarh, assembled all the males. I said, look, this is what these people did. This is what we have done. If anybody does it again, this is what we will do again. Ladies and gentlemen, every single minority family that had fled Kishtwar came right back. From 2001, when this happened, September, till date, there has been no minority killing. Had the same thing being done in the valley, the 3.5 lakh Pandits would still not have been